A new gearing feature in patch 10.0.7 was recently data mined, and today I want to talk about it and go over it. That new system I mentioned in the intro is going to be the Primordial Stone Gem system. Now, this is very early on, it's just data mined. We don't actually have any of the details for it, but I want to go over it, give my thoughts, and maybe give a little bit of a caution to how this could turn out depending on what these come from. So we'll scroll down here. So these are coming in patch 10.0.7. 10.0.5 just dropped, I think, like a week or two ago now. And 10.0.7 should come out in the spring. It looks like they're trying to do a 2-month patch cadence. So if I had to guess, I believe this will come out sometime in April is my guess, and then we'll have a new raid probably in June. That's my guess for you guys. But moving on down here, there's a new type of gem that was data mined on the PTR. They're not in the patch notes. We don't know anything about them. All we know is we have all these effects. We don't really have damage tuning for them. We don't really have how to obtain them. And we don't know what they're going into. All we know is that there is an Onyx Amulet, which is a 405 eye level ring with 3 of a new type of socket called Primordial sockets, and that these gems only fit into these Primordial sockets. We can scroll down here and see that there are strings here telling you that Primordial gems can only be placed in Primordial sockets. The gem matches a socket, it's a Primordial socket, and yada yada yada. So effectively, what this system seems to be is you're going to get some piece of item with these gem slots on it. Right now, that is the ring, the Onyx Amulet. All we know right now is that there are 3 of these Primordial slots, and you'll be able to equip 3 of these Primordial stone effects onto your character at any one time, we imagine. Now again, we don't know. We'll see how good these end up being. I imagine this is to kind of get people to go to the new zone and play out there, because if you don't know, in 10.0.7 we are going to be able to go back to the Forbidden Reach, which is the Drakthir starting zone. So there is some content there that they want us to do, story leading into 10.1. So this is kind of a way to incentivize players who normally aren't doing story to go there. We'll see how this turns out. If the ring is only 405 eye level and these aren't that powerful, then I doubt it'll see much use. Might just be a really cool catch-up piece. But if this ring can go up to 421 or above, or even around that, and these stones are decent enough, then I think you'll have a pretty good thing on your hand. So we'll go through them here, get my thoughts on each of them. So the cold one gives you armor every 20 seconds, which is absorb. Depending on the absorb shield, this can be pretty good. Gives you a lot of vibes equal to that old Azurite trait. I don't remember what it's called, but there's one that shielded you. That was really good. Deluge Waterstone, abilities drench neighboring alley in waters, healing over time. Entirely tuning dependent, we'll have to see. Dealing damage can drain life, dealing shadow damage, healing you. Again, tuning dependent. Moving builds an electric charge, causing next damage ability to deal nature damage. This one's interesting. I don't think this will be much play for a lot of characters, but specifically for Havoc, we move a lot, right? Momentum causes us to move with Fell Rush and all that stuff. So if this is tuned decently enough, I'm going to actually see pretty good damage for Havoc. Entropic Fellstone is also interesting. Fire damage from your stones is increased and is considered chaos. This won't be affected by Havoc Mastery because it's a whitelist, and there's actually not a lot of fire stones, so I don't know how good this one will be. Again, we'll see. Exuding Steam Stone, being healed, can heal yourself and two nearby allies. Tuning dependent. Dealing damage sets enemy on fire. Tuning dependent. Dealing damage chills the enemy. Dealing frost damage. Tuning dependent. Standing still gives you armor and auto attack damage. Could be interesting for rogues or warriors there who have a lot of auto attack damage naturally. Also maybe, you know, on like enhancement shaman or something. The one that it gives you tertiary stats could be interesting for a tank or just in dungeons. Depends, you know, I imagine it's going to give you all your tertiaries, which would be leech, avoidance, and speed, which could be interesting if there are ever packs that do a lot of damage up front. Dealing magic damage, can fire arcane missiles for each kind of magic used in the past 20 seconds is very interesting for those classes that use multi-school. I don't know how this will work for Havoc, because Chaos is technically every kind of school at once, but is also its own school. I doubt it'll end up proccing like you want it to in that scenario. But things like Boomy, who end up using like they use Shadow, they use Arcane, they use Nature, they use Astral, that's the other one. So that could be pretty good for them. Maybe different kinds of shamans too could be interesting there. Taking damage gives you a shield. Different. Being near a corpse gives you Blood, Frost, and Plague is a really interesting one as well. Blood is this one up here that drains. Plague basically gives them the Unholy Death Knight proc. And then Frost is, I think, this one. No, that's this one. Frost armor every 20 seconds. So this is pretty interesting if there's corpses around, but it won't give you any value on pull or anything. This one gives you a random effect. The damage gives you a play. Being 3 near enemies deals nature damage around you. Damaging effects trigger healing effects and vice versa. Throwing damage coats you in armor, which deals fire damage back. Interrupts exhale smoke. Every time a stone activates, you shield yourself. Spending mana gives you mana. Critical for striking enemies. Shocks them into nearby enemies, dealing nature damage. This one will be really good for Havoc because of I-Beam. Like if there's no ICD on this, Havoc's gonna I-Beam and just pew 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 and proc a lot, which would be really really good. No idea what Swirling Mojo Stone does. Being near a dying creature saps a portion of the mojo and crystallizes it. No clue what that means. We'll have to see. This is just a heal over time. And then Wind Sculpted Stone is bad. It just gives you speed. But, you know, if you're speed running, if you're doing open world content and stuff, then that'll be pretty good for you. So, all in all, there's some pretty interesting ones here. A lot of them will be tuning dependent, seeing if they're good, like Flame Like Stone. Also interesting if this triggers the Diana ring or not. Sorry, the Aeronog ring. It's called Seal of Diana's Chosen. But we'll see if that triggers that. There's a few interesting ones, of course, especially for Havoc, as I am a Havoc player. Critical Strikes are going to be interesting. The moving one could be interesting, depending on how, you know, if that procs enough or if it's damage. The Interrupt one could be interesting as well if there's enough damage from it. But, you know, the more you want incentivize people to interrupt, the less value it's going to be because everyone's going to try and interrupt it. And there's a lot of like absorbs and stuff too, so it's pretty interesting. We'll see how they're obtained. I don't really know a good way they could do it. Making them crafting obtained would mean that like jewel crafters would really love getting these, but it would also make jewel crafting way too powerful. Right, you get like your rings, which are very powerful. You get your elemental lariat, then you get these primordial stones. Random drops are also not good, so hopefully it's some kind of currency and you can buy the ones you want. That's just, I think, the best way to do these things, because random drops are very bad and end up kind of giving you domination shards. And I don't want to say domination shards because it's a bad system. It wasn't very good, but these kind of give me shades of domination shards. So we're going to hop over to a different Wowhead article here, and I'll talk about domination shards for those of you who don't know. So domination shards, which I'm on the domination shard guide for 9.1, were a patch feature in the second patch of Sanctum Domination, so Shadowlands, sorry. They dropped from the raid, and basically they gave you pieces of gear with special sockets on them that you could put the shards into that gave you an extra effect while you were in the raid and while you were out of it. So basically there were 5 slots and 3 different types of gems, each equaling 9 gems total. So there were 3 blood gems, 3 frost gems, and 3 unholy shards. Sorry, they're all shards, not gems, whatever. And they all had 5 ranks as well, which just made them stronger. Effectively what happened is you'd get the drop from a raid, and then you'd randomly get the shard as well from a raid drop. So not only did you need to drop the item to put them into, but you also needed to drop the shard set that you wanted from the raid. And they weren't common. They weren't uncommon, but they weren't common either. So it's possible that people went the whole season and I never like saw a full shard set. Further than that, you needed a certain type, like you needed a chest to trigger what was called as the set bonus. So if you had all 3, you got a very powerful effect. I don't remember what blood did. Frost basically caused your crits to store up into a pool of damage that got dealt later. That was Winds of Winter. It made Havoc very strong. Unholy Shards gave you a stacking primary stat buff. I think Blood Shards just kind of dealt damage, if I remember. I'll see if I can find it here. No, I can't find it here. Blood did something. I don't quite remember off the top of my head. I never used the Blood set. I used the other 2. Oh, are they down here maybe? Oh, here we go. Blood Link. Damage enemy establishes a Blood Link. Blood Link pulses every 3 seconds. Damn. Yeah, so it just kind of gives you a link with your target, deals damage to them, heals you. But Winds of Winter was very strong. It whenever you crit, you claim part of the crit and then dealt it back. Kind of like Rage Fire. Rage Fire is kind of the new Winds of Winter. And then Chaos Flame is very strong too. You get stacks of primary stat, and at 15 you get a massive amount of primary stat instead. But you needed a certain piece to kind of trigger that. So you needed a helm for Unholy, you needed shoulders for Frost, and you needed chest for Blood. They later changed this so that legs could also trigger 2 of the different sets. But this was after a long time of just kind of needing each of these ones here. On top of that, you need Embers to upgrade them. Tier 5 was a big deal. You can see the jump here, especially for Frost. 18% up to a cap of 540 per critical strike, dealing a ton of damage there. For Chaos Bane, 900 primary stat was a lot back then. So they just kind of were a way to kind of add damage and interesting gearing on top of your your class. There weren't tier sets back then. This was kind of a soft launch of tier sets, I guess you could say. They weren't very good. They were boring. They didn't work into your class at all, and they were very hard to get, which was the biggest issue. Like I said, you needed not only did you need the pieces to put the sockets into, you then needed the right piece to get the rune word bonus, and then you also needed to drop your shards. So I'm really hoping that we don't have a shard of domination repeat here. I'm hoping that they give us some way of kind of getting these gems that isn't impossible. I really think a currency is going to be the best way. Just have a vendor with these things. Maybe you have to do something to unlock different gems. Maybe you have to do something to unlock the fire gems or the ice gems or the wind gems or whatever. But make it so that people don't just have to randomly grind for these stones. I think crafting could work as well. However, then you might make jewel crafting way too powerful. But like, give us some way of deterministically getting these gems, right? That's all I really want out of these. I think as it stands, there's enough of them for them to be interesting. Obviously, people will just choose the best ones, and that's whatever. That's just how games are going to be. But there's enough here to be interesting for like tanks or healers or even DPS if you want to diversify and get a little more tanky and stuff like that. That I really hope they don't fuck this up and make it very hard to get, because I think if these are easily accessible, then these will go over as a really good feature, especially if the ring scales an eye level. That's kind of all I want to talk about today. I really just wanted to go over these gemstones and give you guys kind of a rundown of what they are, how we're going to get them, at least that we know of. We know they drop in the new zone, that's about it. And maybe kind of the pitfalls I really hope that Blizzard avoids. So if you liked the video, leave a like, drop a sub as well, pushing up towards 4K. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment as well. What do you think? Which stone do you think is going to be the coolest? And how do you hope that Blizzard is going to get these? Also, Twitch and Discord links are in the description below, so check those out. I appreciate you all watching. I will see you guys next time. Peace.